What is up, the world? It is your boy, What's Up, Riv, back with episode 8 of the Right from the River podcast. And let's just start it off right. I want to say welcome. Welcome all. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, then damn, how the hell did you find it? Because I have done nothing to promote this podcast, but welcome. And if you're returning, you listen to the previous episodes, then welcome back, Cody. No, I only say that because I know I got my cousin's support, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, pretty sure I have a very small audience right now, and he consists of one of the 3 people that listens to it. So I appreciate the support. But anyway, let's get into the podcast, man. We're gonna start it off right. Gonna start it off like we do every episode. We're gonna do the beginning of the bit bong rip. That's right. Today I have it's a half smoking bowl. Like, I was in an awkward spot. Like, I wanted to load a fresh bowl for the podcast, but also I was at the point in this bowl right here where if I cashed it, then I wouldn't have been able to keep my train of thought for the podcast. So we're gonna just take a hit from this half smoked bowl already. But the strain of the day is gas tanker. Super dank strain. Smells and tastes just like the name suggests, really gassy. I forget what it's a cross between. I think I got the jar right here. Let's see. It does not say, but that's all good. I think it's a GMO and something else. So it's got a little bit more of the indica kind of lean, but I love it. I seriously love like the gassy, the rubbery, the kind of like just that funky smelling weed. So this is definitely in my top list. Like I when I first got this batch, or it wasn't this batch, when I got the last batch of gas tanker that my job brought in, um, it was so damn good. I rolled a joint of it and it got me just dummy high. Like I was thinking to myself, if there or if I could go back in time and smoke weed with stoners in like the 70s, like the gas tanker would be the strain that I would take back cuz that shit was just it was is good. It had me all spacey, space cadet kind of feeling. But yeah, enough chit-chatting about it. Let's get to smoking it. Cheers, y'all. Here, hold on. I'm trying to get better at the editing. There we go. Marker. Mm. All right, cheers. Not too bad. I only say not too bad because I'm grateful that this is an audio podcast for the time being because my bong is dirty as hell right now and it's kind of grody looking, and so I got a hit. But if I'm being 100% honest, that was not the cleanest hit. Still good though, so we're gonna keep on rolling with it. But yeah, so as you guys are probably aware, I'm filming the episode right now on October 5th. It is spooky season. We are into the season of the spookness now, which is super dope. Halloween has always been one of my favorite holiday seasons. Like, I never usually get too crazy costume wise or just party wise or whatever on Halloween, but it's something about the season. I love the lead up to it. The weather's changing, fall's rolling in, and I think Halloween's just the best way to get into the fall season. I fucking love it. So I'm hyped. And to celebrate the spooky season, I kind of wanted to just talk about, a couple spooky related things today. I kind of wanted to more so center around the theme of aliens, just because I've been watching the new season of American Horror Story, which we'll get to. But the second half of the season is about aliens, so we'll talk about that. Recently just watched Signs with my lady or with my partner, excuse me, and that shit, I love Signs. It's such a good movie. Like, when I was a kid, still to this day, I would say that my one of my biggest irrational, rational, doesn't matter. One of my biggest fears is aliens. They've always just given me the creeps, the heebie-jeebies, and it's just because I think it's I forget what it's called, but our brains have a certain response to humanoid like creatures and things where like our brain can see it is incredibly similar to us in the sense of a humanoid or a hominid, but our brain knows it's different. And so we're like, it kind of weirds us out. But that's how I feel about aliens, is whenever you see depictions of aliens, they always have a huge resemblance to like a humanoid type form, and that shit always creeped me out. It always creeped me out growing up. And when I saw Signs, I was like, I forget what year it came out, but I think I was like 8 or 9 at the time that I saw it. I went to the theater with my mom, and that movie just kind of instilled my fear of aliens. Like I used to be kind of creeped out by them before that. Like when I was little, my mom used to watch the X Files, and the intro always gave me the fucking creeps too because of like the UFOs and like yeah, the SPs and shit like that. Just I don't know, creepy shit. And yeah, Signs just kind of solidified that fear for me, especially when he's looking through the goddamn cornfield and he drops the flashlight, picks it up again, and when the light comes on, the alien steps back into the corn. Like that scene and the one where they're or when Joaquin Phoenix is watching the tape of the alien down in like Brazil or some shit like that. That shit whew, yeah, freaked me the fuck out as a kid. So it was cool to go back recently and watch it as an adult because it still gave me the heebies. Not nearly as bad as when I was a kid, thank goodness. It's nice to know that I've grown past that a little bit. But it's still a good movie. It's fucking creepy. It's a good one, man. That was when M. Night Shyamalan was doing it. I feel like it was before he had his big dip. Let's be honest. Like when he released The Village, I know there's a lot of people that like the movie The Village, but that didn't get very good critical reception. And personally, I didn't really like that movie. And then we also had The Happening come out, which was doo doo. Fucking, we don't even talk about the last Airbender movie that he made. That was sacrilege to the series within itself. But yeah, man, I feel like Signs was really his last best movie before he had his little bumpy road era. And because like I feel like M. Night Shyamalan's done better now. Like, he obviously still has that same kind of feel to his movies, but it's definitely picked up a bit, I feel like, in my opinion. But I guess I can't really think, or no, that's not true. I was gonna say I can't think of any movies that he's done recently, but he did Split, and then he did the sequel to Unbreakable, to Glass. I haven't seen Glass, but I saw Split, and that was pretty dope. That was a good one. But especially like his movie Devil, came out in like 2012, I think. But the concept is these five strangers get into an elevator in this random ass business plaza building. All of them, doing their different things. Each has a different, yeah, they're doing different things. Each of them has a different reason for being there. And the elevator shuts down as it's going up. They're all stuck, and the devil starts taking them out one by one for their previous sins. So it's a pretty creepy concept. I liked it. Their fact that they're all in the elevator, it definitely induces that sense of claustrophobia too. And they're trapped in the elevator with a bunch of strangers who apparently have done things impactful enough for the devil itself to like punish them for their sins. So they're trying to figure out like who they can trust. They can't really trust each other. It's a good movie, good concept. Claustrophobia. You got a little bit of religious aspect in there, which definitely freaks some people out. And yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, I feel like that was kind of a redemption movie for him. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. It's like 9 years old. You could probably find it on like IMDb or some shit like that right now. But what was I gonna say? That's right. I saw another horror movie last week. Me and Brianna, we went to go see, or we didn't go see it. We were going to go see the new Candyman in theaters, but it was Brianna's birthday, so we went out for the day, did a bunch of stuff, and by the evening time, of course, we were tired. Like, let's be honest, man. I'm an old man in a 27-year-old body, so we were looking at movie times, and I think the soonest movie time we could see was at 9 o'clock. And I felt like I couldn't commit to that time. I felt like that was already too late in itself. So we ended up just coming on back home after having a pretty good day together. No, not pretty good. It was a very good day. I had a great day with her on her birthday. Like, it was awesome. It was a dope time. I'm really grateful that I was able to take some time off of work. So we both got to spend like the week before her birthday together, which was really awesome. We had to go see this Van Gogh exhibit. Super fun shit. It was revitalizing my spiritual battery, my energetic battery needed to be recharged. I needed that time with my gatos and with my love. So 10 out of 10. I would definitely rate our time together 10 out of 10. And I would also rate that Candyman movie I don't want to be too crazy and say 10 out of 10 with that. Like, that was a great movie. I'd say like 8.5 or 9. I would give it a 9 out of 10. That shit was pretty damn good. It had me on the edge of my seat. It didn't rely on like jump scares and shit like that, which, if I'm being honest, I feel like jump scares in horror movies is like the equivalent of a fart joke in a comedy. It's just low hanging fruit. Like, a fart joke's always going to get some kind of chuckle, and a jump scare is always going to get some kind of jump, because obviously people are going to like freak out when you go bah, super loud. So it's like, eh, you know, Candyman was really good. They didn't rely on that. They went really psychological with it. Um, as Jordan Peele does in a majority of in his movies, he adds a layer of social commentary to it, which I thought really added. I think it added a great layer to the character of Candyman within itself, and how he made without giving too much away, the background that he gave to Candyman made him bigger than just a single person. He made Candyman into a concept, into an aspect that was even older than the Candyman name within itself. And so I really like that. I think it was super interesting. Added a great layer to the character. It was a pretty good ass movie. It had a great cast. I forget everybody's name. I don't think I knew any of the actors' names in the movies. I couldn't recognize any actors that have been in like previous stuff that I've watched, except the actress that plays Monica Rambeau. I forget her name. It's like, oh, I'm gonna mess it up. I don't know her name, but it's a great movie. It's scary, keeps you on the edge of your seat, plays into that whole slasher classic 80s, like, you know, bad like slasher care. Jeez, man. See, that gas tanker is good. What I'm trying to say is it plays into a kind of 80s throwback slasher film style. And that's what I really like about it, because the Candyman that Jordan Peele did plays as a direct sequel to the first one that came out in 93. And so I know, yeah, Candyman did come out in 93, but it still, I feel like, was riding the coattails of the super popular 80s slasher flick, where it was some big baddie with supernatural energy around them in a badass costume with their select weapon, going around and killing people. Like, I think it was, yeah, that totally, it was huge in the 80s. Let's be honest. 'Cause I know, what was that? Sorry, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. I was like, what the hell is that? It was beeping. But yeah, I know that these like slasher kind of monster characters obviously existed way before the 80s, but when you have characters like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, you have Pinhead and the rest of the Hellraiser franchise characters, just they made the slasher characters pretty dope. They made this supernatural entity something super badass, and Candyman played off of that. But yeah, I think the new one really paid a good homage to the original while adding something new and different to the story without kind of losing it. Like, I saw the second Candyman that came out in like 95 or some shit. It was okay. It was all right. And I didn't even bother seeing the third one, because, I feel like the issue with a lot of these popularized, now they're retro like slasher characters, is their first movies do wildly successful because they're this interesting character. It's cool, it's creepy, it is morbid, but a lot of people like horror. That's how it is. But when these characters came out and they had a huge success very rapidly, these movie companies just wanted to profit off of that. And so they tried to make these sequels to them, and the sequels ended up kind of being god awful. They lost track of things like, you have like the cult of Michael Myers and shit like that, or in the other Candyman movies, it's about like a person in New Orleans and shit like that. They do it differently, and it doesn't really play out well to a lot of the people who fell in love with the characters initially. So it's actually nice to see horror movies now, and the ones that come to mind are Candyman and the new Halloween movie. I haven't seen that yet, but it looks like a great addition to the series. But it's really nice seeing these modern sequels still trying to pay the actual respect to the originals, because I feel like, yeah, for so long it was just a cash grab to throw one of these characters in your movies. But to see people actually trying to like hold on to the hold on to what made the movie so good in the first place. It's really nice. It's kind of like what Dave Filoni and John Favreau are doing with Star Wars. You know, you could tell these two dudes were just a couple of nerds that grew up loving the Star Wars franchise, and now that they have like creative control over the franchise now, they want to do well with it. They're not just seeing it as an opportunity to make money. They're seeing it as an opportunity to make Star Wars content that people love because it has that Star Wars feeling to it. And I fucking love that kind of stuff. I love when people are actually fans of the things that they create. Like if we're going to be doing reboots and sequels and shit like that, I would at least like somebody behind the wheel that cares about it, that gives a fuck, you know? Because you have these some creators that make reboots or sequels to things that they've never even seen before. They just know it's a popular franchise and they want to get their money too, so they're like, yeah, fuck it, I'll figure something out with it, you know. But yeah, I think it's a good time for horror movies. There's only a couple out right now that I could really think of, but I guess seeing Candyman and Michael Myers in theaters makes me feel a bit nostalgic, and I think that's dope as fuck. It makes me happy. But yeah, I said I was going to talk about aliens as well, and god dang it, that's what we're going to do. Because I wanted to, well, I guess I'm going to talk about aliens more in the sense of the new American Horror Story season, because a little backstory on that one is usually with American Horror Story, it's an anthology series. Every season is a different story, but this season they've decided to do two stories throughout the entire season. So the first half is one story, second half is a different one. They've already finished the first story, and they've only released the first episode for the second story, which is entitled Death Valley. And if I'm being completely 100% honest, I am not drawn in like at all with this season. Just like none of the characters that they've introduced as the main characters for the Death Valley story are likable. And I know it's a horror movie, obviously or it's a horror show, but I know that in the horror genre, they're obviously going to introduce characters that are unlikable, because if you liked every character that was killed off by the main like slasher, then you're going to be a bit bummed out. Like, oh damn, I kind of liked everybody. That was a bummer. But I think it's also important to have at least a couple or at least one or two characters that are still likable, because now I'm watching this show and it's about these like four spoiled rich college kids and how they're abducted by aliens, and I don't like any of them. They're all douchebags. They're all shitheads. And it's like I really don't it's like they're fictional characters, mind you, but I really don't care about the well-being of these characters in this show, because it's like they're just so shitty. And I don't know, it doesn't really seem that promising. Like that's the one thing with American Horror Story is not every season finale is a zinger. Not everyone's going to be good, but I don't know, man. Like at least like for a majority of them, the seasons start off really strong and really promising. But this one doesn't even like have a strong start. Like right from the immediate beginning, I'm like, I don't care about any of these characters. And I guess it's just because there's probably a couple more. Or no, there's not in the same series, but I'm getting a little backtracked. Um, yeah, I think I don't like it just because I'm a little bitter towards the Hollywood royalty that has been seen in these shows more and more recently. And by Hollywood royalty, what I mean by that is like actors and actresses and models whose parents are actors and actresses and models and producers and whatever. And because it just bothers me. Like I'm not trying to deny that these people are talented, but I just think it's kind of shitty that it's like, so what, you get to be in TV because your dad was in TV or your mom was on TV or some shit. It's just I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I guess it makes me raise an eyebrow because I start to think, oh, is that nepotism? You know? Like are you getting that job because you're a talented actor, or are you getting this because of who your parents' names are? And I feel like the issue with, or I can answer that for one of the actors on the American Horror Story season is no. Like you're not like one of the characters, she's just not. I hate to be mean because I'm not an actor. I don't know how to act at all. I don't know the first thing about acting, but she's not a very good actress. She's not very captivating, and it's because her mom was like a model or some shit in the '90s. And I'm like, is that why you got work? Like, is that it? It wasn't because you went to school to be an actor. It's not like you moved yourself across the country, dedicated your whole life to this like win or fail cause to be an actor. You're just like, mom's an actor. I'll have her agent call these people up and see if they have an available spot for me because I want to be in this TV show or something like that. Like, I don't know, man. I know it's just me being bitter, but I'm going to be bitter about it because it makes me think about all of the really talented people in this country, in this world that do that. They dedicate their life to being good at a certain talent or a certain skill, and they move out to places like LA and they go to these fucking auditions and they lose out to these spots because of these like actors' children, and they're not kids, like they're not children, but they're adults whose parents are actors. Their parents have a reputation. Their parents have a place in Hollywood. Their foot in the door. They have that place in the door. Oh my God. They have their foot in the door and their place in Hollywood is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like that plays a lot into it. That definitely is a bit of nepotism, if you ask me. But I digress because I was talking about how garbage the season is, but I started talking about how garbage nepotism is. It's funny how the world works sometimes, huh? But yeah, not really digging this season so far, and it's really unfortunate because I fucking love American Horror Story, but they have this spin-off show called American Horror Stories, which is another anthology series, but every episode is a different story. So it's like a shorter anthology. And that one was garbage too. It was only 7 episodes, but I didn't really feel captivated by it because, again, they didn't do anything to create any likable characters through these stories. So you have these characters that do awful things and then they end up essentially winning in the end of the episode. And you're like, so what? They just get to be garbage and then they go off on their very own and continue to be garbage, but they get to be happy and successful too. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just kind of hard for me to get into that kind of stuff. And then, like, in that series, in the horror stories, they have Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris Jackson, in it. And if I'm being honest, man, she's just not a very good actor, too. It's just one of those things where they were like, can you pose with a knife? All right, well, you got the fucking role. And it just really sucks because, again, it makes me think, how many people went to that audition? How many motherfuckers had to go to this audition who are eating ramen noodles every night because they've dedicated their lives to trying to become an actor, and they lose out to fucking Paris Jackson because her dad was the king of fucking pop? And again, I hate to say things like that because I'm sure these people do have talent, and I'm not trying to say that they're 100% talentless, but I'm also saying that, like, if your father is the late Michael Jackson, that's going to be pretty fucking shiny on a resume. And it's just, mm, 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 mm. I feel like they tried to go the route of big names for these seasons of American Horror Story instead of trying to find like just good talent. And I hate to say it like that because, again, I'm not an actor, but yeah, it's like they spent their budget on the names and not on the talent behind the names. Because I think of people like Sarah Paulson or Lily Rabe or Evan Peters, and how I didn't know who these people were before American Horror Story, but they're fucking captivating. They're what make these seasons good. And I mean, fuck, they even had like Lady Gaga in the show, and I thought she was pretty good. I loved the hotel season. And so I'm not saying that like just because someone has a big name doesn't mean that they're going to be bad in the show, but y'all are spending your budget too much on the names, too much on the celebrity children names, on fucking Hollywood royalty. But, well, I mean, I didn't really, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it, is what I'm saying. I'm going to be definitive in my stance. I don't like it. I don't think that these characters or the actors behind these characters can act very well. They do nothing to captivate me. None of the characters are charming in this, in the sense of making you want to care about them and hope nothing happens in this horror show. And so it's just kind of like, can we just fast forward to the point where we figure out what the deal is with the aliens, Because that's what it is. The plot so far is these 4 spoiled rich kids in college, and they all connect back up after not meeting or seeing each other since like high school graduation or whatever. And to celebrate, they go on a camping trip in Death Valley. Well, they go on the camping trip, and when they're out there, I think they go on like a hike, and they see this entire like pasture of cattle, just like dead. And one of them, she's going to school to be a doctor. So she goes to check out the cattle and notices that they're like sliced vertically down the center. And she's looking at them, and all of them are taken out the same way, like this. And so as they're all scratching their heads, going like, "What the fuck?" Then one of the cows legit moos at her, so they freak the fuck out, and rightly so. And they get back to their campsite, grab all their shit, and they leave. By the time they get their shit packed up into the car and they leave, it's nighttime. And while they're driving on the road, alien tractor beam hits them, and boom, that's it. They wake up, I think like hours later, don't know what's going on. They continue their journey home. Well, fast forward a little bit, it's two ladies and two guys. The two ladies find out somehow that they're pregnant a couple weeks later. Don't know how it happens. They're scratching their fucking heads because they're like, what the shit? Like, what happened? But at the same time, the two dudes have more like morning sickness, and they have symptoms of someone who would be pregnant. And yeah, they go, or at the very end of the episode, they reveal that all four of them are pregnant with alien babies. So, l'chaim, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, yeah. I don't even know how to follow that up, because it's like, how are they going like, where are they going to go with the dudes? How are the dudes not going to die with this fucking alien baby growing inside of them? Because like, we don't even have like like biological males don't even have the physiology to harbor a life inside of us, like, so how would they not just pop from having an alien baby? But whatever, I guess that's why we have 5 episodes to go. It's a 6-episode story, so I guess we'll fucking see when we get there. But yeah, if you're still listening at this point, why don't you share a couple of your alien stories and shit in the comments down below? Y'all ever had any spoopy encounters with the aliens? I'd kind of like to expand more on this subject, possibly on the next podcast. But yeah, aliens have always creeped me the fuck out. I've had a couple of dreams, especially 2, that really fuck with me about aliens. Like, I had a dream, it was probably about 5 years ago now, that I went into this basement, and there was a fucking alien in one of the rooms in the basement. I turned around and somehow had to jump up this ledge to get back out of the basement, but I slipped when I grabbed the ledge, and I fell on my back and turned around, and there was like 7 or 8 aliens coming at me. But that's creepy enough in the dream. But as they grabbed me in the dream, I could legitimately feel them grab me, like physically. I could feel it. I could feel it. I could feel all of these hands on me, and that's what woke me up. So yeah, that was not fucking cool. My mom has also personally experienced some shit that she would consider extraterrestrial as well. It's just freaky stuff, man. Like, I don't know. And I think that's why it creeps me out so much, because I don't know. And we're humans, and we fear the unknown, whatever whatever sense of the term that is. But yeah, like I was trying to say, have y'all ever experienced any spooky alien stories? Let me know down in the comments below, and we can start a discussion about it, because it shit creeps me out, but I like talking about it. Makes the hair on my arm stand up, but god dang it, I'm still going to talk about it. So, but yeah, we're nearing on 29 minutes right now for the podcast, so I think I'm going to call it for this time. It's the first episode of the spooky month, spooky season. I know as of recently, I haven't been super consistent with putting out weekly podcasts, but it is my favorite holiday season, so I'd like to try to be a little more consistent with that. Put out a couple more podcasts so that we can discuss spooky related things. I know I've already talked about my encounter with Bigfoot up in Woodland Park. I think I did talk about that creepy ass rhino puppy fucking thing that was on the edge of my bed when I was like 5-6 years old. But yeah, let's talk more about aliens and shit. Let's talk about it. Uh, not just aliens. I'd like to talk, obviously, about a couple other things with this podcast, or not with this podcast, with the spooky season. A couple more spooky related things, Yeah, that's it. I'll come up with those themes and what we talk about when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we cross that bridge. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. As always, this is What's Up, Riv, with the 8th episode of the Right from the River podcast. I'll catch y'all next week. Y'all be safe out there. I'm peacing out. Peace.